All right, family. I need you to be obedient. Grab your Bibles and open up to Psalms chapter 92, verses 12 through 15. And I'll be reading from the King James Version. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing. They shew that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. All right, family, I want to speak from this thought today. The perfect red rose. And this is not just a Mother's Day message. This is a tribute. This is a thank you. This is a testimony. This is a son standing before his mother, his family, and God saying, Mama, I see you. I see you. Mama, your name is Barbara. But today, I want to call you what your life has already shown us who you are. The perfect red rose. Now, not because life was easy. Not because you never cried. Not because you never got tired. Not because your body never hurt. Not because your heart was never broken. But perfect because even with thorns, you still bloomed. Cancer was a thorn, but you still bloomed. Double knee replacement was a thorn, but you still bloomed. 4 hard-headed sons were thorns, but you still bloomed. The loss of your son Al was a thorn no mother should ever have to carry. But somehow, by the grace of God, you still bloomed. And now, after everything you have survived, you are still giving love to your grandkids and great-grandchildren with the same heart you gave to us. That is not ordinary love. That is nuclear love. That is the love that went through the blast and kept burning. That is the love that went through the sickness and kept serving. That is the love that went through surgery and kept standing. That is love that went through grief and kept giving. That is love that had every reason to shut down, but instead kept opening like a rose in the morning sun. And Mom, today we're not just saying Happy Mother's Day. We're saying thank you. Thank you for the prayers we heard and the prayers we never heard. Thank you for the sacrifices we understand and the sacrifices we were too young or too hard-headed to understand. Thank you for loving us when we were not easy to love. And thank you for loving us when we made it just very difficult. Thank you for keeping your heart open after life gave you reasons to close it. And family, that is why Psalms 92 says, the righteous shall flourish. Now the word flourish means to grow, to bloom, to remain fruitful, to show signs of life even after a difficult season. When I look at my mama, I see a woman who has flourished, not untouched, not unscarred, not untested, but planted. Planted in faith, planted in love, planted in family, planted in the keeping power of God. So today, I want to speak with both fists full of love. One fist, I honor my mother. With the other fist, I give glory to the God who kept her. Because Mama didn't just survive because she was strong. God kept her. Grace covered her. Mercy carried her. Prayer strengthened her. And love kept flowing from her like a fragrance from a rose. So here's my proposition today. Because God has kept my mother blooming through pain, today we honor 3 sacred signs of her nuclear love: her roots, her thorns, and her fragrance. First, we honor her roots. Because before the rose has beauty above the ground, she has strength beneath the ground. Her roots was the strength we did not always see. The Bible says, those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. Now that word planted is important. A flower cannot flourish if it has no roots. A rose cannot survive the storm if it's not planted deep. A tree cannot stand against the wind if there is nothing holding it beneath the surface. And family, this is one of the things I understand better now. Because when I was younger, I saw Mama's actions, but now I understand her roots. I saw the meals, but I did not understand the sacrifice. I saw the correction, but I did not always understand the fear behind it. I saw the rules, but I did not always understand the love underneath them. I saw the strength, But I did not always understand how many times she had to ask God for strength just to keep going. Mama, before we saw the petals, God saw the roots. Before we saw the smile, God saw the struggle. Before we saw the love, God saw the labor. Before we saw the courage, God saw the nights you had to fight discouragement. Before we saw the mother, God saw the woman, and that matters. Because sometimes children forget that mothers are people too. Mothers get tired. Mothers get scared. Mothers get overwhelmed. Mothers have dreams. Mothers have disappointments. Mothers carry pain that they do not always explain because they do not want to burden the people they love. But roots are what keeps you when nobody sees what you are carrying. Roots are the prayers nobody heard. Roots are the tears nobody counted. Roots are the quiet decisions to keep loving anyway. Roots are the strength to wake up and do what needs to be done even when your body is tired and your heart is heavy. But mama, you had roots. You had to have roots to raise 4 sons. And let me tell you the truth, not just 4 sons, but 4 hard-headed sons. That took roots. That took patience. That took prayer. That took wisdom. That took correction. That took endurance. That took the kind of love that could be so soft, yet strong enough to hold us and straighten us. A mother raising sons has to learn how to be gentle and firm at the same time. She has to wipe tears and raise standards. She has to give hugs and give warnings. She has to encourage dreams and correct foolishness. She has to know when to speak softly and when to say, no, not in my house. Now, if we're being honest, mama, you had to love us through seasons when we did not yet know how to appreciate you. There were things she said that we did not understand until life hit us. There were warnings she gave that we did not understand or appreciate until experience confirmed them. There was prayers she prayed that we did not value until we realized that some of us are alive because somebody was willing to call our name before God. And that is roots. And family, this is why we honor her today. Not just because she gave birth, not just because she cooked meals, not just because she kept going. We honor her because she was planted. And planted people do not run every time the wind blows. Planted people stay when love is hard. Planted people keep praying when answers are slow. Planted people keep giving when they are tired. Planted people keep showing up when life gives them reasons to disappear. Mama, you were planted. And because you was planted, we had somewhere to grow. Your roots became shade for us. Your prayers became covering for us. Your endurance became example for us. Your love became a home for us. And if we are blessed today, it is because God used your roots to help hold this family together. Mama had thorns, but she still bloomed. That is the first sacred side of her nuclear love, was her roots. But a rose does not only have roots, a rose also has thorns. And if we're going to honor her honestly, we cannot just talk about the beauty and ignore the pain. Mama had thorns, but the pain did not poison her love. Now we know that every rose has thorns. And the thorn is not proof that the rose is ugly. The thorn is proof that the rose survived. A rose with thorns is still beautiful. A mother with scars is still sacred. A woman with wounds is still worthy of honor. Sometimes people celebrate a mother's strength without respecting what made her have to become strong. They say she is strong, but they do not ask what she survived. They say she kept going, but they do not ask how much pain she carried while moving. They say she is always there, but they do not always ask who was there for her. So mama, today we're not going to rush past your thorns. We honor your beauty, but we also honor what it cost you to keep blooming. Cancer was a thorn. That word alone carries weight. Cancer walks into a family like a thief. It tries to steal peace. It tries to steal sheep. It tries to steal confidence. It tries to make the body feel like a battlefield. But Mama, cancer did not get the last word over you. God kept you. The doctor may have had a diagnosis, but God still had a purpose. The disease may have touched your body, but it cannot cancel your assignment. Cancer may have been real, but grace was real too. The fear may have been real, but mercy was real too. The battle may have been real, but God's keeping power was real too. And now we can say proudly, my mother is a cancer survivor. Not just because the medicine helped, not just because treatment mattered, not just because the body fought, but because God kept breath in your body and purpose in your life. And we can't forget about the double knee replacements. That is another kind of thorn, because knees matter. Knees carry you. Knees help you stand. Knees help you walk. Knees help you rise. Knees help you move through life. And when your knees are hurting, every step has a sermon in it. Every step says, I'm still moving. Every step says, pain did not paralyze me. Every step says, I may be slower, but I'm still standing. Every step says, God is not finished with me yet. Mama, pain touched your walk, but it did not stop your witness. You may have had to recover. You may have had to adjust. You may have had difficult days. You may have had moments when your body reminded you of what you have been through, but still you bloomed. And then there's the thorn of motherhood itself, because motherhood is beautiful, but it is not easy. Motherhood is not just baby pictures and holiday cards. Motherhood is sacrifice. Motherhood is worry. Motherhood is correction. Motherhood is sleeplessness. Motherhood is stretching one heart over multiple children and trying not to let anybody feel uncovered. Now, when you have sons, especially hard-headed sons, motherhood becomes a spiritual workout. You loved us when we were stubborn. You corrected us when we needed it. You prayed for us when we did not know we needed prayer. You saw dangers when we was too young to recognize. You carried concerns when we were too immature to understand. And Mom, I want to say this clearly. There were probably times we did not make it easy to be our mother, but thank you for not quitting on us. Thank you for loving us through our hard-headed seasons. Thank you for seeing more in us than we saw in ourselves. Thank you for not letting our mistakes make you stop being our mother. Thank you for covering us with a love we did not always deserve, but desperately needed. But then there was another thorn, the deepest thorn. The loss of your son, Al. And I want to handle this with reverence, because there are some pains you do not shout over. There are some wounds you do not rush past. There are some names that carry memory, tears, love, and silence all at the same time. When a mother loses a son, something happens words cannot fully explain. That is not just grief. That is an earthquake in the soul. That is an empty chair in the heart. That is a name that still lives in the room. That is a love with nowhere earthly to go. That is a wound that may soften but never completely erase. Mama, you had to live through what no mother should have to live through. You had to carry the memory of Al. You had to keep breathing after a loss that could have crushed you. You had to keep loving while grieving. You had to keep being a mother to the living while carrying sorrow for the one who had gone on. And yet, by the grace of God, you were still here. Still loving, still giving, still smiling, still caring, still showing up, still pouring into generations. That is nuclear love. Not because it never hurts, but because it keeps loving after the hurt. Not because it never cries, but because it keeps giving after the tears. Not because it forgets, but because it remembers and still chooses love. That kind of love does not come from human strength alone, that comes from God. Because there are some storms only God can bring you through. There are some valleys only God can walk you through. There are some tears only God can understand. There are some wounds only God can touch without making them hurt worse. Now, Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, my grace is sufficient for thee. My strength is made perfect in weakness. That means God does not wait until the thorn is removed to show his power. Sometimes God gives grace while the thorn is still there. Sometimes God gives strength while the need is still late. Sometimes God gives peace while the heart still misses. Sometimes God gives joy while tears are still close. Sometimes God gives purpose after pain has changed the way you see the world. And that's what I see in you, Mom. We see grace in the thorn. We see strength in the scar. We see beauty in the survival. We see a mother who had every reason to wither, but God kept her blooming. Mama had thorns, but she still bloomed. That is the second sacred sign of her nuclear love, her thorns. But the rose does not stop with roots and thorns. And if the rose keeps living, if the rose keeps opening, if the rose keeps blooming, it releases a fragrance. And mama, your fragrance is still blessing this family. Now, in Psalms 92, it says, they shall bring forth fruit in old age. That's generational age. That means that after many seasons, there is still something coming out of them. Still fruit, still love, still wisdom, still prayer, still comfort, still strength. Still something sweet for the people around them. Now, mama, that is what we see in you. You are still bringing forth fruit. After cancer, still fruit. After raising sons, still fruit. After grief, still fruit. After the loss of Al, still fruit. After everything life has thrown at you, still fruit. And now your love has moved into another generation. You gave love to your children, and now you are giving them the same love to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. That is fragrance. Fragrance is what fills the room because the flower is present. Fragrance is what lingers after the rose has already passed by. And mother's fragrance is not just in what she says, it is in who she is. It is in the way she checks on you, the way she remembers you, the way she notices when something is wrong, the way she feeds people, the way she worries, the way she prays, the way she says be careful, the way she treats grown children like they're still somehow her babies. And grandkids know that fragrance. Great-grandchildren know that fragrance. They may not understand everything you survived. They may not understand the hospital room. They may not even understand the fearful moment. They may not even know every tear of an owl. They may not know every sacrifice you made raising us, but they feel the love. They receive the fragrance. They receive the tenderness. They receive the warmth. They receive the prayers. They receive the hugs. They receive the same mother and spirit that helped raise us. And that is a blessing. Because some people grow bitter after pain, but mama, you kept giving sweetness. Some people close up after grief, but mama, you kept opening your heart. Some people let suffering make them cold, but mama, you kept your love warm. That is why you are the perfect rose. Not because you had no thorns, but because the thorns did not steal your fragrance. The pain did not poison your love. The grief did not dry up your compassion. The sickness did not conceal your tenderness. The surgeries did not stop your giving. You are still giving the family something beautiful. And family, this is why Mother's Day cannot just be one day on the calendar. We cannot only honor mama when the stores tell us to buy cards. We cannot only celebrate her when the flowers are on sale. We cannot only post her picture online and then fail to show love in real life. If mama is a rose, then we got to give her flowers while she can still smell them. Give her honor while she can still hear it. Give her gratitude while she can still receive it. Give her love while she can still feel it. Give her help while she can still use it. Give her patience while she can still appreciate it. Give her presence while she can still enjoy it. Do not wait until a funeral to say what should have been said at the table. Do not wait until the tears are falling over a casket to finally say thank you. Say it now. Mama, thank you. Thank you for your roots. Thank you for your thorns. Thank you for your fragrance. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for forgiving us. Thank you for praying for us. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for not letting grief turn your heart to stone. Thank you for being the kind of mother whose love still covers children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Mama had thorns, but she still bloomed. That is the third sacred side of her nuclear love, is her fragrance. And now as I close, I cannot talk about the rose with thorns without talking about Jesus. Because the greatest love the world has ever known was also wrapped in thorns. Now, family, the Bible tells us in John chapter 19, verse 2, and the soldiers planted a crown of thorns and put it on his head. Before Jesus wore a crown of glory, he wore a crown of thorns. That means God understands thorns. God understands pain. God understands grief. God understands wounds. God understands tears. God understands what it means to love people who do not always understand the cost of that love. Jesus loved with nuclear love. He loved through betrayal. He loved through denial. He loved through rejection. He loved through nails. He loved through blood. He loved through a borrowed tomb. They put thorns on his head, but they cannot stop the love from rising. They nailed him to a cross, but they could not cancel his purpose. They buried him in the grave, but they could not keep him there. Because early Sunday morning, Jesus got up with all power in his hands. And because he got up, we know grief does not get the final word. Cancer does not get the final word. Surgery does not get the final word. Pain does not get the final word. Loss does not get the final word. Death does not get the final word. God gets the final word. And the God who raised Jesus from the dead is the same God who kept my mother through every season. The same Jesus who wore a crown of thorns on his head is the same God that kept my mom blooming through every thorn placed on her life. So Mama, today we honor you. Barbara, you are the perfect red rose. Not because life was gentle, not because the road was easy, not because there was no tears, not because there was no scars, but because after all of it, you were still here. Still strong, still loving, still giving, still praying, still blessing, still blooming. You are planted with a purpose, watered by tears, strengthened by struggle, covered by grace. And as your family, we rise up today and call you blessed. The word says in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 28, her children rise up and call her blessed. So Mama, your children call you blessed. Your grandchildren call you blessed. Your great-grandchildren call you blessed. Your family calls you blessed. And we thank God for every year he has given you. We thank God for every battle he has brought you through. We thank God for every prayer you prayed. We thank God for every sacrifice you made. We thank God for the love you gave and the love you still give and the fragrance that still fills this family. So family, will you honor her? Not just today, but every day. Will we love her better? Will we listen more carefully? Will we show up more faithfully? Will we give her flowers while she can still smell them? Will we thank God for her while she is still here? Will we cherish the red rose God planted in our family? And Mama, will you receive this today? Receive our love. Receive our gratitude. Receive our honor. Receive our apology for the times we didn't understand. Receive our thank you for the times when you kept loving anyway. Mama, you had thorns, but you still bloomed. You had cancer came, but you still bloomed. Surgery came, but you still bloomed. Cancer came, but you still bloomed. Hard-headed sons came, but you still bloomed. The loss of Al came, but by the grace of God, you still bloom. And now your bloom is not just for you. It is for us. It is for your children. It is for your grandchildren. It is for your great-grandchildren. It is for everyone who has been blessed by the fragrance of your love. So on this Mother's Day, we do not just give you a card, we give you honor. We do not just give you flowers, we recognize that you are the flower. We do not just say Happy Mother's Day, we say, Mama, thank you for the roots. Thank you for the thorns. Thank you for the fragrance. Thank you for the new for your love. You are still rising, still radiant, still fragrant, still beautiful, still strong, still covered by grace, still Mama, still Barbara, still God's red rose, still the perfect red rose, still Elijah's wife. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. We love you. I think that one's pretty good.